Okay, so we are continuing the Narad Bhakti Sutra we had done till verse 14. That is Sutra 14 we had done. So today we are going to describe about the different sages and what do they think about this aspect called devotion. Now everybody's yardstick is different. Now all the sages that we are discussing over here have a certain different aspect of devotion. How do they describe it? So one verse only, just about one line will be there. So Sutra 15. We are doing Narad Bhakti Sutra. Sutra 15. Bhakti's characteristics are being described now due to the existence of different opinions. If you have to ask every individual, can you please tell me what is this devotion all about? Or how do you describe devotion? Everybody is going to give their own version of it. Remember, devotion is about unconditional love for Lord. So, what is this unconditional love for the Lord? How do you actually understand this love? So, if you have to ask every individual, can you describe love to me? And you know very well that hardly anybody can understand it. Though everybody will try their level best into using their yardstick for description. They will say that, the love that I have for my mother. Somebody will say the love that I have for my dog. Somebody will say the love that I have for the animals. Somebody will say I am a doctor, so I am very careful about my patients. Everybody's yardstick is going to differ. Even in the sages themselves, remember, they are the repository of knowledge. But how is their knowledge different? Just like the scientist. You ask one scientist about one aspect, he is going to tell you one point of view, another will tell you another point of view, then another will tell you another point of view. Simply, if you wish to give a gift to your beloved, what is the gift that you will give? I'm sure you remember the story of the Maggie or Magi or whatever. Everybody's love differs. So also these sages and the saints, they also have a different aspect, and they are going to talk to the existence of different opinions. So let us begin with the first one. Now what does Ved Vyas say? So Sutra 16 says, in the worship of the Lord with deep love and firm attachment, thus declared the son of Parashar, Sri Ved Vyas. Now, if you recollect, Ved Vyas is a great person who has written the Mahabharata, and he's also described the various aspects of love in the Bhagavatam. It's a massive thing. Right from beginning of the Bhagavatam till the end, there are different stories which he has given us. Now, how did that come about? I'm sure all of you remember my previous satsangs. I think we did nearly 5 to 6 years of the Bhagavatam, chapter by chapter, verse by verse. And it spoke about the different aspects where the Lord comes on the earth in different forms and he expresses his love. As Sri Ram, he was a great prince. For the sake of love, he left the kingdom. and went into the jungles. For the sake of love, he fought with the king of Lanka to get his wife back. And for the sake of love, he had to abandon her also. Now it sounds very harsh what he did. But then, as a ruler, he is the king of everybody in Ayodhya. So his justification is different. We cannot understand the justification of Sri Ram. As a person, Ram was completely different than Sri Krishna. Now if you look at Sri Krishna's life, it is completely a different ballgame altogether. He is the highest in love, right? We are going to describe his love in the next couple of verses. How does he and the people who are associated with him express their love? Now, Ved Vyas also spoke about this. Then in another avatar of Vishnu, Parshuram, his love for his father and his mother. Imagine, Parshuram had to chop off his mother's head at the behest of his guru, his father. He said, chop her off. And then he said, now bring her back to life. Parshuram's fight with Sahasrahara Arjun. It's a very big story. That is completely a different kind of a love. It cannot be expressed. One cannot be expressed and said that this is higher or that is higher or that is higher. Nobody can say that. So in the worship of Lord with deep love and firm attachment, Ved Vyas says these are the words that describe it. Your attachments in the material world with your own family, relatives, friends, or whomsoever that they are there, are deep rooted today. If somebody says something against your country, you are very angry. Somebody says something against your religion, you get very angry and upset. Likewise, if someone says something about your mother or father, naturally you get upset. People will fight for their wives. They will take on the whole world. This is a deep-rooted attachment that a person has for that individual. Like today, if you see, even in the alma mater, where you are connected to your schools, many of you have still retained relationship with your school friends also, haven't you? And when you are related to them, you are talking to them about how you spent your days in school. And then you go for the annual days, get-togethers kind of. The love is different. There, what are you expressing? You are expressing a kind of an attachment to your alma mater also. Sometimes you will go to your college. There are people who will give the valedictory address, They will stand on the podium and they will talk to all those graduating students also. And lots of big people do that. They are expressing their love. It is a kind of an attachment. But now look at the same thing. Attachments are time-bound. Very, very much time-bound. They do not last for a very long time. They come and they go. They do what is called the yo-yo. In life, the attachments come and they go. Look at your own life. When you were a kid, you were attached to your parents. When you were in school, you were attached to your friends in school or your teachers. When you went to college, you were attached to your college friends and teachers again. Then you got married or then you got a job. So when you got a job, you were attached to the first job. Then something happened over there. You left that and you went to the next one. Then you got attached to the second job and then you left that and you went to the third one. Can you see how flimsy this kind of an attachments are? Marriage. You are attached to your wife or your spouse rather. This attachment is again temporary. It doesn't last for a very long time. Because the attachments get spread out with the children coming in the picture. You have your relatives which you acquire from outside. Your spouse's relatives becomes your relatives. Then you have your set of friends. Sometimes you have your drinking pals. Sometimes you have your, people who go and play. So games, clubs. Everywhere we develop a kind of an attachment. And that attachment is so flimsy, it goes away in just an instant. So Ved Vyas says, the love with the firm attachment to the Lord. You see, you can have this attachment right at birth. We are going to do one story where the attachment starts right at the beginning of life. At the end, not now. So this attachment becomes so firm. You have heard about Adi Shankaracharya. Now Adi Shankaracharya was devoted to God right from the beginning of his life. He left his mother's place at the age of 8, travelled, went to his guru's place. At the age of 16, he travelled more. He got an extension of another 16 more years in his life. And then he travelled more. And finally he came back to Karnataka, where he established the ashram over here. The matha as they call it. So there are 4 major mattas which he established. Now, his attachment was to the Lord. He was completely devoted to God. So Ved Vyas says, the worship of God with deep love. When you worship the Lord with deepest of the love, what do you do? Mirabai's love can be also expressed like that. She had a small statue of Krishna which she carried all over the place. Singing songs, bhajans, kirtans, literally all over the town. There are various other sages and saints who used to travel exactly like her. In case of Gurudevs, Sai Baba was a guru. His devotee went all over the town singing his praises. You will find there are various these kind of examples where to express the deep love and the devotion to God, they are focused completely in Him. So Ved Vyas's way is expression of love in the form of a worship. You have to worship the Lord. Are these things related to what other sages say? Well, if you look at the other sages, some of the sages may be just sitting in one place, dwelling on the Lord. They may not express anything. They may write some things. So this is the first kind of an expression which we are learning from Ved Vyas. He said, the worship of the Lord with deep love and firm attachment to Him. When you have this attachment to the Lord with the deepest of the love, that is the way Ved Vyas considers devotional aspect. So we move to verse 17, that is the Sutra 17. We are going to hear about Maharishi Garg. Now you will try to understand what is the difference between these different sages. How do they react to it? This is Sutra 17. A great attachment to listening to the stories of his glories, etc. is bhakti. According to Maharishi Garg. That is, Garg Muni says, you have to listen to the stories of the Lord. Now, if you remember Ved Vyas, we were just discussing about him. He has written those stories. His son was reciting them continuously to Parikshit. So that means there is a difference between these two. One is talking about bhakti, which is completely different. He says you have to, in the devotional aspect, you have to worship the Lord. Now Garg Muni says, no, you have to listen to the stories of the Lord. Do you see any difference in that? The difference lies in like this. Whenever somebody comes and asks me this question, I want to be on the path of spiritual. What is the first thing that I am supposed to do? Now, most of the people think that I am going to put them on some path of meditation or some such kind of a thing. I tell them no. Whether you do meditation or yoga, one thing you should know, you can never overcome the mind. Never. This was established by Vasishtha Muni long ago. When Sri Ram comes to Vasishtha Muni and he has completed his training, okay, and Sri Ram comes to Vasishtha Muni and says, you know what, I have overcome my mind. And Vasishtha Muni laughs at him and he says, you see, if somebody comes and tells me that he has lifted the entire Himalayan range, the mountains, I will believe in that person. If somebody comes and says that I have drunk all the oceans in the world, I will still believe in him. But if somebody says that they have overcome the mind, I will not believe in them. Now, who is telling whom? Think. Vasishtha Muni is telling Sri Ram. Now, Sri Ram is an avatar of the Lord himself, and yet he is being told this thing by his Gurudev. Now, this is a big dichotomy, isn't it? You will say, how can the Lord get, carried away by this thing? You see, the whole story is there after that, isn't it? Sita gets kidnapped. He cries for his brother. You have heard the story. Lakshman is hurt. He cries for him. And then Hanumanji gets the mountain, the entire mountain, because he doesn't know what is Sanjeevani Bhuti. So he gets the entire mountain. So he's crying for that. How can you overcome the mind? Even if the Lord is born on this earth, till he is controlled by this body, anybody who is in the body cannot overcome the mind. So if somebody comes and asks me this question that can I do yogasana, or can I do pranayama, or can I do meditation, my simple answer to them is, I'm sorry, you will not be able to overcome your mind. Period. To overcome the mind is not easy. Then what is the answer? The answer is Bhakti Marg, path of devotion. There is no need to overcome the mind. There is no need to do anything for that matter. Just be in love with the Lord. That's it. And here we are trying to understand what is this love all about. So when people come, I tell them very simply, can you read stories? I have had very great Diggajis coming, great people coming to me and saying, Guruji, I know all the stories. I have read from Wikipedia to everything. Oh, is it? Yes. The encyclopedia of sages and saints. I have read everything. Is it? So what is the next thing that you want to do? I want to learn Tantra. I want to learn Advaita. I want to learn this and I want to learn that. I humor them. Definitely. See, I have to humor everybody because a person who comes and says to me, I can overcome the mind, I have to humor them. So when I have to humor them, I have to tell them, okay, fine, I will teach you. Chalo, let us learn Tantra a little bit. Now please don't misunderstand, Tantra doesn't mean all about the wrong stuff, okay? It is, I'm talking about completely different stuff. So we go one book, another book. Sometimes the arrogance and the ego of the person is so strong. Yes, I have finished this book. I'll go to the next one. Then I go to the next one. And then wow. I myself don't know the books. It is the stupidest thing on earth to do. What is the easiest thing to do? Garga Muni, do you know who he is? He is the guy who gave the name to Krishna. I don't know whether you know about this. You see, he was the priest. Yashoda. And so he came over there and he gave the name. And he did the entire chart, drawing the chart, the ephemeris. Oh, what do you call that? The natal chart of Sri Krishna, and told his father, your son is going to become a very great guy. Krishna was going to become a very great guy. So, understand this. This Garga Muni, this is the person we are talking about. And what he says, can you just go and read and simply enjoy the stories? And that is the reason I don't want to do any tough books. Some people who will say, can we do the Upanishads? I tell them, it's going to give you a headache. And these simple lessons like, I'm doing Uddhav Gita, I'm doing Bhagavad Gita, that gives you a headache. Can you imagine Upanishad, how much of a headache it's going to be? First, you have got a mind of 25 paisa, not even 25 paisa, maybe 5 paisa worth of mind. If others are there, maybe 5 cents or I don't know what you call it, or pence. That is all the mind that you have. The brain, how much can you have in that? Only little knowledge. And you want to learn the entire thing? It's not possible. Simplest thing to do is to read the stories and to dwell in them. So how do I give my satsangs? I tell stories continuously. If you are sitting in my satsang, you will come to know I just keep on giving stories after stories after stories after stories. Stories are the easiest to digest. They will tell you. During my time, when I was young, people had by-hearted the entire dialogues of Sholay. They will tell you exactly what Sholay was all about. After that came other movies and people knew the dialogues of that also. Like Munna by MBBS. Everybody knows the dialogue. It's a story. It's a simple story. And the story is put forward to a simple mind. A mind which gets carried away by Maya. We get lost in this world. So, Garga Muni says, the simplest thing for anybody to do is to just go and read the stories. A great attachment to the listening of the stories of his glories is bhakti. Devotion grows when a person listens to the stories of the Lord. When there are young children, what do? We tell them stories of Balakrishna. Or Sri Ram, when he was a kid, he wanted the moon. How do you get the moon? So it's like that. We have to talk about these kind of simple stories. Now you will say that, oh, the story is repeated. Don't you think this is the same one which I saw they are mentioning in the Buddhist? The Buddhism also gives the same story. The Hinduism, that also gives the same story. Every story looks the same. Of course the stories are going to be the same. What makes you think they are going to be different? If you ask any person how many kinds of stories are there, there are only few. That is why people, when they are asked, whether Shakespeare was one person or many people, so there is a big question mark. Because how can a person write in so many different kinds of stories? He wrote tragedy, comedy, this, that, everything. A story can be just a very simple way of expressing something. And we love to watch movies, isn't it? We love to watch movies. Nowadays, everybody is sitting at home and doing what? They are watching Netflix. They are watching. Now Doordarshan is starting what? Ramayana once again. Ramayana is literally like an extended version. I mean, now when you are sitting in my satsang, I think you are understanding a little bit, One verse goes on for 15 minutes. Like that. It's not 15 minutes. 15 minutes. It is extended version. Stretch it. Our stories are exactly like that. We love to stretch our stories. We can put so many elements. This one, that one. Make a nice khichdi of it and give. You love stories. I love stories. Everybody loves stories. And especially the Indian stories are very colorful. You know why Indian stories are very colorful? Because we have a lot of song and dance. Colorful dances, suddenly in the middle of somewhere, you will land up in Switzerland. Somebody in the middle of somewhere, you land up in Japan. I mean, how can a person who is staying in Chennai suddenly land up in Japan? Today though you can't even go. But these heroes and heroines, they are dancing in some great place here, there, and suddenly the Eiffel Tower is behind the person, and then suddenly there is the Tower of London is there. I seen one picture, suddenly from one place to the other, it went to Peru. Okay. How did that hero and the heroine land up in Peru? I don't know. It is very difficult for me to go to that place also. But, yeah, our stories are fantastic. No-brainer as we call them, no-brainer. Don't even use your brains. The language is also very, very different. He's not going to win an Oscar, but it's going to be popular. Everybody likes it. That recently they came out with that film 2 years or 3 years ago, I don't remember. Bahubali Part 1, Part 2. Now I think they will I don't know how many more parts they will come up with. And we love those kind of pictures because you know what? Song, dance, beautiful dresses. I mean, just imagine the heroine is going to wear beautiful dresses. And nobody knows where the dresses have come from. Nobody knows how many 30,000 dancers behind you. Where did they come from? There is no brainer, correct? We love this kind of things. So Garga Muni is qualified in telling us you should listen to the stories. Because there is going to be a lot of masala in it. Masala movies we have. So exactly like that. Full 70 millimeters stereophonic sound. Nowadays it's not stereophonic. Some other sound is there. And you keep on hearing it from here, there, everywhere. Yeah, you love all that. A 3D vision, God knows, all those things. Right? They made some of these Westerners also made movies like India only. Like this Avatar. Now, I don't know what Avatar is all about. Avatar. हमारे हिंदी में बोलते हैं Avatar. Avatar. Okay, they made Avatar with this blue color guys. Okay. Krishna is blue, you know. Yesterday only we were discussing blue hai ki grey hai, pata hi nahi. So yeah, you make those characters and have a beautiful setting. Only thing they didn't have was song and dance. We'll tell Steven Spielberg, next time you do, no, you please add 2-3 songs over there. Let them dance. One will dance on one moon and somebody will dance on. Maybe they will do. We'll tell even Elon Musk to give one aircraft of this. So he will dance on that also. Wow. It will be very funny. But you will love it. So, Garga Muni's way of saying, we need to listen to the stories of the Lord. Most of them are concocted versions, don't worry. They are very good. Understand? How much is the essence of the truth in them? It is not how much is the essence of the truth, it is what you get out of it. We love to hear stories because we get something out of it. Especially the stories of the Lord, when we listen to them, we get carried away in devotion to the Lord. We get completely immersed in them. Just like in a big movie theater, we get immersed in the movie. Like that, when the stories are going on, people get immersed in it. That is why Garga Muni's way of saying that devotion can be got by listening to the stories of the Lord. So now we go to the next sage. So Sutra 18 from the Narad Bhakti Sutra, what does it say? The devotion for Lord which is not opposed to attachment to the inner self is true devotion. Now he is gone in completely different direction. See, remember the first person said one thing, second person said stories, the third person is going completely in third direction. Now don't think that they are all wrong, okay? Everybody, like I said, you have your own opinions, they also have their opinions. And everybody is free to give their opinion. Who is right? Everybody is right. Did I not say that even Ram had to cry for his wife? He also did. He also had love for her. That is why he did. So it's okay. Everything is fine. All is well. All is well. You remember the movie, no? All is well. All is well. It's like that. Everything is well. Fine. So what does Shandilya Muni say? He says the devotion for God, which is not opposed to attachment to the inner self, is true devotion. This is a little complicated, right? You see, he is defining devotion in a different manner. Now, who is the one who is running after self? The person who wants to become self-realized. This is one very special way of understanding this. Self-realization is actually opposed to devotion. You see, realizing the self is one part of the deal. How is it? Self. You go inwards. Right? You go inwards. You become a Buddha, kind of a Buddha. When you recognize or realize the self, what do you understand? You understand that everything is the self only, isn't it? Nothing is, the non-self is, I guess there is no non-self. Everything is the self. Is there something called non-self? They explain it, there is a non-self also, okay? So don't dispute it. Like I said, we have to agree to everything. All is well. So in self-realization, you are going to do Om and all those kind of stuff. Okay, you are going to go in deep meditation and all that kind of thing. So he says, it is not opposed to attachment to the inner self is true devotion. It is not opposed. We are not even going to oppose anything. Finally, at the end of the day, I'm still going to tell you whatever Chandaliya Muni says or Garga Muni says or whoever says. Narada has got a completely different say also. Alright, so let us wait for him to say. So here he says, somebody does idol worship, somebody says I am going to go and pray to God. Somebody, no. You go and sit in one place and think about the self. Today you have got a lot of time to think about that. You know, one is you are not even sure about your job. So you are going to be very selfish in thinking about yourself. Isn't it? You are thinking about where is the money going to come from. And no president or prime minister is going to give me money. Because I don't fall under that category. So you are going to think about your small self. Not going to think about the big self. Alright. So today you have got time to do thinking. So here he says, attachment to the inner self. The self which you need to achieve in terms of realization. Small technique how you normally achieve that. First you remove all the things which are opposing to it. Just keep on removing. And when you come to the aspect of removing everything, then you start filling it up with that. Huh? The same thing which you remove, you fill it up with that. Means what? So you just keep on asking, is this God? No. Is that God? No. Is that God? No. Is that God? No. So if you look at an idol and say, is that God? The answer is no. That's an idol. And after you come to the whole understanding, is the God? From which angle do you look like God also you will think, Arey, which angle do I look like? No, finally you will come to this understanding, God lives in me. Right? So God lives in everything, including that stone idol, including the person whom you are thinking is the biggest idiot on earth. You know he is living in everything. So finally you fill the whole thing up. First you remove and then you fill it up with the whole thing. And then from Neti you come to Iti. Neti means not this. And then you come to Iti means all is this. So these are different techniques. I don't advise any of these things because first and foremost, to sit in one place and think about all these things is going to take a lot of time. Okay, and coronavirus may not give us that much time. It is going to give us a short duration of time to think about all those things. You know, let us not become a saint by that. But we can listen to these stories, no? So here he says, when you do this, it is true devotion. He says you should not oppose to the attachment to the inner self. The inner self is also God. God is everywhere and God is inside also. And when you think of that God and get attached to this whole thing, that is also a part of it. So we don't want to oppose Chandaliya Muni also. Why should we oppose him? So let us move to the next one. Who is the next one? Next one is Devrishi Narad. The book that we are reading. He only has written this. Okay. So we do the Sutra 19 according to Devrishi Narad. Total dedication of all actions at the altar of the Lord and at all moments of forgetfulness of the Lord, excruciating pangs is supreme love divine, which is called bhakti. Well, Narada has a different say. But is Narada's say correct? He is just giving you different views. It is his view. We accept it. But he is not saying you have to be firm on this view. Please don't be firm on this view. There are other views also which we are going to look at. So Narada's way of saying that how is this bhakti established? How is this devotion established? He says dedication to all actions at the altar of the Lord. Yesterday, do you remember me telling you that whatever action that you do, you have to devote it to the Lord. That means you are the servant of God. God is going to act through you. This is what I told you, right? He uses you to get the work done. This is what I said. So he says, dedicate all the actions to the Lord. I will explain this. And when you forget, And all moments of forgetfulness of the Lord, excruciating pangs. You're going to feel a lot of upset when you do not think like that. Well, what happens over here? Have you listened to the Sufi, the Rumi or one of those guys who write all the Sufi songs? He talks about love. And what kind of love is he talking about? A man and a woman, a boy and a girl, those kind of things, But is he actually talking of that, or is he talking about the love for God? Sufism is all expression of the love for God. So all these poems that are there, all these beautiful verses that are there, they are related only to God. So he says, Narada says very clearly, everything you just dedicate it to the Lord. Now, this is a simple example. You listen to a lot of movie songs. Take any movie song which is a love song. Most of these Arijit Singhs and all these, these are love songs. Go and check them out. And go and listen to the songs, and instead of having your girlfriend in front of you, think there is the Lord in front of you and sing that same song to the Lord. It turns into a very beautiful love song for the Lord. So, did you get what he is trying to say? He is just trying to say, dedicate all actions to the Lord. Which means what? Simple answer. Yesterday, if you recollect what I said, single pointed devotion to the Lord and every other person in the periphery. Attachment only to one and detachment from everything else. This is what I said. You have to do your material worldly jobs with one hand, meanwhile being dedicated and devoted to the Lord. This is what I said. How do you do that? Think. If you are a servant of the Lord, how will you do that work? You are a servant, you are doing all the job of the master. It is very beautifully explained in one of the stories of Ramakrishna Paramahansa, where he says, there is a woman who comes from the village to Calcutta and works in a very rich household. She works in a very rich household. And there is a small boy in that household. So every day she would give him bath and put his clothes on and do all kinds of stuff for the small child. She would sing songs to him. She would be dedicated so much to that child that it seemed like she was so much in love with that child. What was she actually doing? Remember, this is a woman who had left her village and come to the city to do the job. When she was giving the bath to her child, that boss's child, the owner's son, she was thinking about her own son in the village. And when she was giving water, putting water on top of the baby, she was thinking about her own son, how she would be bathing him. So when she applied all the, whatever, Johnson's baby powder, maybe that time it was not there, but think like that. Just imagine, she's applying all that, she's putting that kajal. In olden times, you used to put kajal so that kisi ki nazar na lag jaye. The evil eye should not fall, so they will put that one kajal in the eye and one dot somewhere. So she would do all that to that small baby over there, the master's child, thinking about her own baby in the village which she had left behind. Aren't there many women in this world and men in this world who have done that. So thinking like that, dedicating the action to the Lord. So when you are taking care of your own family, think that the person that you are taking care of is the child of the Lord. So suppose you are attending to this your own son, think that that is not your son, but the son is the Father in heaven's son, Krishna's child. So if it is Krishna's child and you are the servant, how will you take care of him? If you have a job, think that that job is being given by Krishna himself. How will you do that job if Krishna has given the job to you? Don't you think you will want to put 100% into it? The love that you may have for your wife or your husband, they are also children of God. Will you not love them that way? So consider everything in this world belongs to Krishna himself. And then do that job dedicatedly. Even if you are giving money to your parents or taking care of old parents, think that they are not your parents, but they are the children of God. They are Krishna's children. And you are just serving Krishna by taking care of them. Did you get it? It's a very simple way of looking at it. The whole place is not yours. Never take ownership of anything. If you have a farm, there are very beautiful trees growing over there. You see, you have divided the farm into different, this is my farm, that is this one's farm, that is that one's farm. But this whole earth, this universe belongs to the Lord. You have only taken a small portion of it so that you can take care of it, isn't it? In many places in India, you will find that there are people, zamindars are still there by the way. They are the owners of land and they have given the land to somebody to till. What do? After they work the whole year in that land, they take the entire whatever the crop that comes and gives it to the owner of the field, retaining a certain small portion. So do they take the ownership of that place? No, they think that it belongs to that zamindar or that person in charge, whoever is the owner of that land. Isn't that how they do it? So think like that. You are just a worker in the field. You are doing the job for Krishna. It is Krishna's land. So you better work very hard for it. It is Krishna's job. Krishna has given that job to you. So you work very hard for it. Those are Krishna's children. You better take good care of them because you are just a servant. Narada's actions were exactly like this. So his way of telling you how to progress in this field is exactly like this. So he says that total dedication of all action at the altar of the Lord, and at all moments of forgetfulness of the Lord, excruciating pangs. The moment it comes to your mind that I am, this is my field, I am working in my field, I am not doing anybody a favor. Sorry. You should feel the pain. These are my parents, I have to take care. No. They are God's children. Okay? You are just a servant doing the job. If you forget this, you should experience the pain that I have done something wrong. You got what I'm saying? You have to do this job in this world, dedicating it to the Lord. Even the job that you are doing, one day you feel lazy, you don't want to do it. You just want to, run away somewhere. Maybe go for a movie or, I don't know, in the future, not now. Coronavirus is going on. Maybe in the future, one day you'll say, 4 days I'll take an off and I'll go. Think. It's not your job. You have been given a job. And you have to do it 100% dedicatedly to the Lord alone. And if this is the way you look at it, then according to Narada, this is called love divine or devotion to God. Did you get it? So these are different aspects. 1, 2, 3, 4. Different aspects. Garga Muni says something, Shandilya Muni says something, Vyasdev says something, Narada says something. Everybody has a different way of looking at the same object called devotion. Different paths. And these different paths can be followed by all of you all. Anybody who can just feel like that can follow that path. You can read storybooks if you want to. You can consider that you are working for God. Become a devotee of God and just work for Him. You are doing everything. You are doing nobody a favor. You are not doing it for yourself. You are doing it for the children of God. Whichever way you look at it, do it. You will experience the devotion for the Lord.